Welcome to Flow Design Architects, a company that works with you for you. Thank you for watching.
Darguin Fortuna. I've been corrected that the G is silent, so it's exactly the same as Darwin.
That's right.
That's correct.
Yeah.
He's a founding principal of Flow Design Architects, a culturally diverse architectural ecosystem where everyone has a voice and a shot at making a better world with materials, form, and space. He's a registered architect in Mass, Maine, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Florida. What, nowhere else?
The Dominican Republic.
From design and conceptualization of projects, ideas to managing and leading the team along the design process. Energetic individual who brings and builds momentum. And do you really do all this stuff?
I try.
He holds a Bachelor in Architecture accredited degree from Boston Architectural College, where he graduated summa cum laude, folks. He's also an instructor and visiting critic at Boston Architectural College. Recently, you focused on increasing the diversity in the pipeline of architects and designers in AEC by inspiring, training, and guiding the next generation of architects. So, you know what, folks? Welcome, Darwin.
Thank you. Yeah, whenever I hear those words, I'm like, is that really me? Like, I'm just 36 years old. Like, you know, there's still more to go. So I probably better stop and focus on other things. So thank you for having me here. I did a presentation not long ago that Robert invited me to talk about the film. And it was fun. It was a nice, casual kind of conversation. And I kind of expect the same thing about this. I put some slides together to kind of connect it to the now, but also to the film that I created. And we're gonna start first with the film. Hopefully the link works, you know how IT is. And then after we watch the film, I kind of have some slides that reflect upon it. And then at last, I will really talk about my firm as the result. Instead of introducing my company and my work, I'll let the process talk about like what the work is. So we can go to the next one. Thank you for the assistance. So like I said, we're gonna watch the Change We Seek. If you click on that, it should work. You can maximize it. And the audio, it's not working. Of course, there's some ads. Let's see if the audio. I already can tell that the audio is not working. You didn't? Hmm.
Yeah, trying to.
You can
It's not a mirrored screen, so it's a little hard.
Oh, I can help you with that.
Yeah, here's YouTube.
I think you.
YouTube, we'll click out of that guy. Play this.
The sound volume is different.
That'll be a question of what the
Yeah.
system settings are. Give me a sec.
You're good at it. I can tell already.
Okay. Spatial silence is off. No output device is found. Okay. System settings. Find nothing right audio channels.
Try to play now. It was off before, so that probably. Although whenever you play it, slow.
Yeah, this is at 0. That's mic. This is output. Choose where to play sound. No output devices found. Add device. Should have speakers?
Should we try what we always do and plug it and plug it back in?
Unfortunately, I don't believe that will work.
Okay.
You have to do an allow up in the corner.
No, that's for notifications.
Anyone got a Bluetooth speaker that they got?
We typically do. Not today.
No. Very unfortunate. This laptop doesn't have a speaker?
No. But it should play the audio on its own. I think it does have it, but if not.
There's a speaker on the laptop as well. Yeah. That's probably. I don't think the projector has an output speaker. Just started. Oh, that's YouTube's volume. So YouTube's volume is maxed. The question is,
This
was
is
the
maxed
projector have
out.
a speaker or the laptop have a
This is
speaker?
maxed.
The projector seems to have a speaker, unless that's just for,
also possibly that,
that's true.
unfortunately. We could reasonably play with closed captions, theoretically. We could add automatic subtitles.
I guess we can, guess what? Just hold it back. Let me play the audio from my phone.
Okay.
I'll open the same video.
And we'll try in 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, we'll do that. I think my phone will do it. And of course. All right. So you let me know. 1,
Start.
2, 3.
So what do I say? The problem is the Trump administration.
Between 2017 and 2018, me and my partner Marco Severino launched Flow, an architectural office that didn't have a mission or a clear purpose. Thankfully, we knew something was wrong. Several words started to ring true to me: lack of diversity, pipeline, minority architects, diverse backgrounds. Me and my partner Marcos decided to investigate the matter a little bit more. We learned that there weren't a lot of minority architects. There weren't a lot of Latino architects. We learned that there wasn't a lot of people from all over the world working together in one team. And we decided that we wanted to change that.
When I was a child, I always remember that I wanted to become a firefighter or an architect, and I wasn't able to see anyone that looked like me that can represent that dream that I have. Now, we had that dream come true, who are touching life in every spectrum. They go to elementary school, middle school, and high school to try to model that anyone that want to become an architect, they can see firsthand how they are.
Then we learned that we needed to reinforce that. We went to high schools and colleges to ensure that those that made it there stayed the path. Then we decided to create a big ecosystem where we could support architects from all over and make sure that they made it through. We decided to open the AIA Success Class in our YouTube channel, open to everybody for free. And we continue to go to middle schools, preschools, and high schools to talk to children.
Well, one of the things that I think you're doing really well is, and that's going to have a huge impact on ensuring that the future of architecture is more inclusive, equitable, and diverse, and that is going into schools. We should be spending more time in schools talking to kids, and wherever we can find an opportunity to work with kids and teach them about architecture and how architecture is building community.
That's our legacy. That's the impact we're leaving. We are the change we seek. This is the only way to get it done. It worked. So I don't know how many of you know of that film challenge that the AIA was making. Always I wanted to do one of those, and I'm like, I don't know. Then everything lined up to do this. One of my cousins came from Utah and moved to Massachusetts. He's an editor and film. That's his world. And actually, this is his equipment there. Hi, Edwin. And then we put it all together. He quit like 5 times throughout the process with me because he was like, it's got to be ready. So we did that. So that said, it's kind of it's self-explanatory. We made this place for people that are misfits or were misfits at that point. But we had a premise. So I'll talk a little bit now about kind of the history, not going too far into architecture, but like the history I can remember. So you can go to the next slide. And it's like architecture looked kind of like this before, right? heavily male dominated, and of course there weren't computers and AI at that time, but it was very homogeneous, very, very much. And when I wasn't in the United States at that time, but when I was growing up, what I would hear about is this is for the rich, this is for the wealthy, this is not something that we do. So that was a roadblock. But that's the architecture that a lot of us can remember and still kind of relate to. It's heavily male dominated and Caucasian. So we can go to the next one. And that homogeneity also translated into the built environment. There was a period in time in which this is kind of what architecture looked like. Very homogeneous and brutalist, and it was a way of basically segregating different classes, imposing power onto the world. And it wasn't really humane, and it wasn't really connecting to people. Whatever the taste or look that you may have, doesn't matter. This architecture it didn't adapt, and it wasn't resilient in any way, shape, or form. It was more of one person controlling everything and saying, I want it the way I want. It's either my way or the highway. So that wasn't inclusive, and we didn't relate to it. So kind of that's happening here too, because now architecture is being looked at as there is a style that should prevail, and that homogeneous things, everything looking the same, everything being clear and imposed by someone, it's not adaptable, it's not resilient, it's not sustainable, it's not equitable, and it really misses the point, right? It really doesn't respond. Next one. And that's kind of what the order that we have now, again, I guess, is trying to do, is make everything exactly the same. And you can go to the next one. And if we keep building the same way, and it's not resilient and sustainable and equitable and diverse, and it doesn't think about ecosystems and nature, how does it respond to these wildfires? How does it respond? You can go to the next one. How does it respond to the different needs of different places? Architecture needs to be diverse, not just the buildings that we make, but my premise is that also the teams that we have need to also be diverse, because they will answer questions, problems that we didn't even know we had, because we will look at it from different points of view. And also financials of diversity. So recently, you guys probably have seen that we've been bombarded with completely negative numbers on the billing index. And how do I relate all of this? Well, I'll tell you one thing. Just recently, I did a Q1 meeting with my team at the office, and I shared these numbers with them, and they were a little frightened. And I was like, well, but guess what? And then I shared our own internal numbers as a company and as a team. And I said, we are an outlier to that. And it's because of the diversity of clients that we have, the diversity of projects that we work on. And since before diversity was a great thing to talk about, probably 10 years ago, I was already talking about that. Then it became a really good thing. We were all talking the same talk. And then now we can't even put those words into a scholarship. And that's another story. We can't even use those words. So my premise is that we have to think about it holistically, and that there is a financial retribution to it. It's not just an altruistic thing to do as the right thing to do. There's returns on investment on doing that. There are projects that we get from some of our staff members from different cultures, different backgrounds. And if we were very homogeneous, likely we would be on the red. We're not on the red. We're actually way above that. So I present diversity as a solution. You can go to the next one. I present diversity more as a solution than as a altruistic or the right thing to do. I present it more as a solution that can hit multiple things across the board. You can go to the next one. And this was the diagram that hit home with me when I was putting together that film, but also when I was trying to figure out what Flow was about. Because as a company, when you open a company, you are either frustrated with something, you don't really know what it is, you're probably working too much, and you don't see family, and you don't know. Something is out of bounds. But what I realized is I wasn't feeling home, I wasn't feeling connected, and I was a hardworking individual, but that wasn't something was missing. So my business partner also felt the same way, although he was at a completely different firm, but we were kind of feeling the same way. So I looked at this and I thought, well, wait a minute. If we create a diverse team and it is well managed, it can outperform all of the other teams. So let's put that to test with our company. And we're gonna call it Flow because it can't be rigid, it can't follow the same parameters, it can't be the same, everything, it has to be fluid. I worked at a lot of offices that felt like law offices, and I don't say it in a law offices are cool for lawyers, but not for me. Like there wasn't music, there wasn't flow, they didn't feel artistic. And I worked at different firms trying to figure out what my fit was, and none of them were. There were like 10 firms, and none of them really were a fit for me. So when we started Flow, we noticed that the people that would stay with us were of a diverse background. So I guess diversity attracts diversity. So even though there was someone from Kenya and I'm from the Dominican, but he's very happy being there because he felt home with me, right? So, and there's this one also from, he's actually Irish, like 50% Irish, and he's also feels home with us. So it's like, it's not just one side or another, it's all of us trying to work together. So Flow started growing and the numbers started going up exponentially. And I always look at it with like a grain of salt. It's like, well, maybe we got lucky, right? And then COVID hit. And while the big firms where I was working at before were letting go of people, we were like, we can't stop. We have so much work. Like, you know, people are planning restaurants, even though they're shut down because they got to plan it for the future. And in the residential market, which is what we kind of do more, like 70% of our work, everyone wanted to do a home renovation or addition, or just to not get divorced. They wanted a new home just to entertain themselves. I don't know. So, but it was like going up, 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 and all the other firms weren't doing so great. You can go back. And so we say, okay, let's be more intentional about this diversity thing, and let's really also ensure that that's being fed as a pipeline. So let's go to preschools, middle schools, high schools, and colleges and talk to different children. And let's make it a thing that's permanent. Like we're not just doing this because we don't have any work. We actually have a lot of work, but it's because it's really our mission. And we put it into our handbook as a company. And I really just wouldn't think of any other way of working than to hear Raquel speak Brazilian Portuguese in a minute, and then someone else speaking Swahili with a client, and it's just really amazing. And the solutions and the architectural expressions are all things that I wouldn't be able to come up with myself. So it became this really amazing ecosystem. You can go to the next one. And you know, there is structure to it because, as the premise said, diverse teams well managed perform better than homogeneous teams. Homogeneous teams are the easy way to not have any friction and move forward without questioning anything. It's just everybody says yes to whatever you say. Yes, sir. I think we probably all know about kind of how that works. And if you say no, it doesn't go so great. But here, you know, we have some consulting team that we put them together too at the Dominican Republic. And because again, there's not a whole lot of work there too. So we thought, why don't we give back to other countries? So we actually have now a team in Colombia and a team in the Dominican Republic, and we work together as a team. But her ideas are just as valid as my ideas. We can flip this the other way around, and it doesn't matter. Like we just applaud any really good idea, no matter where it comes from. It's great. So the firm became all about diversity, all about inclusivity, all about sustainability, and we started to look into how can we actually have a diverse way of approaching design. So then the framework for design excellence came about, which I didn't even know about a couple of years ago. And we thought, well, look at these 10 principles. Why don't we implement all of those 10 principles into our projects, no matter what type of client it is? And our contracts now say your project comes with, as a part of the package, some of these principles of the framework for design excellence, you know, so that they know we're designing for you know, the integration, designing for energy, designing for ecosystems, we're designing for water, we're designing for all of those things already. And each one of these members of the office have embraced a superpower of like, well, I really care about electricity and how that works, and solar panels and photovoltaic. I'm going to learn a lot about that. And as they, you know, having a diverse firm means that you have to meet everyone wherever they're at, push them a little bit so that they don't just get too content, and challenge them, but also understand that not everyone's actually going to end up being licensed, which is what I want. I want all of them to get licensed and all of them to be architects and open their own shops and move forward, you know. But some of them say, you know, I'm happy here, I'm going to learn about that, and going to grow. So we respect that. And some of them go forward and push forward more. But that whole premise makes this office so much more tighter and strong against almost, you know, any obstacle. You can go to the next one. And then again, the diversity of projects that we get is super eclectic, but I wouldn't want it any other way. And it is the representation of the location of the project, the client, the history, the background. It's all adapting. So it's almost impossible to pin a flow project. It's like, oh, that's a flow project. It's like, it's almost impossible. No, that's this client under these circumstances within these coastal conditions or weather conditions. It is very much a response to their needs. And, we serve all of our clients, no matter where they come from. So we will have super high end, and we will have some other ones that, are much more simpler, but we don't say no to any client, by the way, no matter what size. It could be a bathroom project, it could be a kitchen project, it doesn't matter. We want to, because again, it's impacting the pipeline of the next generation across the board as they grow, but also being inclusive to the clients that we have. There are some difficult clients difficult clients in the sense that, like, I don't understand their heritage, I don't understand their background, but it takes patience, and it makes me a greater being, a greater individual after I walk out. It's like, well, it was hard to understand, but now, we're all happy, and we go through that frustration, and we can look back at it and enjoy. So you can go to the next one. And like I said, these are some kind of snippets of the numbers that kind of support my premise of a diverse team. We did a poll with the Young Architect Forum recently where we asked them how they were feeling, and it was 5 out of 10. So like the morale and the let goes is actually, if it's not happening in New Jersey, trust me, it's happening everywhere. So it's like, but our company is thriving. Our bottom line is kind of around here as a company, and we're like above that. January was too good. I never expected that. And again, we're a team of 10, although you saw the other ones, but there's some consultants from other offices. So we're like, wow, this is awesome. Some are part-time, some are full-time, some are students. And I was like, this thing that now is being challenged, I would say that diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't going away. It's never going to go away, but it's being challenged, but the numbers will prove that we need that. Even on stocks, you need a diverse portfolio. Like everything, it's really a thing. It's not a beautiful word to just say. You can go to the next one. But you need to manage it correctly. And I'm not pitching any software to you, but managing diversity means understanding where every project's at, who is working, what's the best fit, what's the timeline, and ensuring that that's well managed. And you thought I was going to talk to you about films today. But I'm just talking about making this whole thing go all around, because if it is not sustainable, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. You can go to the next one. And this is when I stumbled upon the framework. By the way, I was a juror for awards actually here in New Jersey, but I was also a juror for the 2022 residential awards at the BSA in Boston. And it is required to implement the framework to even be considered for an award. And I was like, what is this thing? As a small firm, that's a lot of work. But we reworked it. We're like, let's start by changing our contract, creating a training system so that everyone knows something about this, and that we can start putting nuggets, even in a little deck edition. Like, what is that material you're going to use? Why is it that way? And that framework for design excellence gave us a little bit of agency, which we didn't have as a company. Because when we started, we were kind of like everybody else's pencil. And we were just doing whatever the client wanted, and in whichever way the client wanted it. But now we can say, no. We're positioning it this way because we're designing for water, and you told me water is important to you, right? So we're designing this way because you don't want to have any energy costs, right? Electricity is really high. So you may not do the panels now, but this is how it's going to go. And the heat pump and the systems and all that stuff. So we're like, very much becoming sophisticated. I always tell the office that, like, we're just doing this of what architecture is. But little by little of the time, we're like graduating as a company, and beginning to craft narratives and an architectural discourse that then will tell the story of, it all started with this idea of a diverse team, and the results are just remarkable. You can continue. And that framework, it really empowered all of us, but it also empowered people that may not want to be licensed as an architect, or they don't want to pursue even a degree. Some of them are still through school, but I'd say, well, become a champion on some of these elements, so that way I don't hold you back either in your growth, and I can actually give you a raise because you're the best. You're really the best at design for change. You don't need to go to school for that. You can just do alternative trainings and become really good at it. And we really support those needs of the team. We pay for any education that they need anywhere. I always just say, just don't quit the next day. but because it's very sad. And that's the other part of training this team. I think I've been doing it for now 8 years. And I go through moments of super joy of seeing them grow, these babies, and then moments of like, wow, they really messed up badly, but they didn't, I did, because it's all under me, right? So I'm the one responsible. But because sometimes I question the premise of diversity almost every day, it's like being under attack now, and I'm like, should I have put that guy to do that LBL? He doesn't even understand it. He doesn't care about it. But with patience and love, you go back to it and say, no. This is bigger than me. This is the legacy I'm gonna leave behind. And it's not my buildings. It's everything. It's communities, the ecosystems, it's the people that we touch. So when I look back, I'm like, it's better than money. So like I said, this framework for design excellence became part of our process. And that brings me to another point. As a company, we generated a process. Where did the process come from? Simple. My first job ever in the United States was at Wendy's. And it was very simple for a 14-year-old to feed America. Whatever food that may be, but they had a process, they had trainings, they had a very robust system. And although I don't want to create a factory as an architectural factory, but I wanted to understand, is there a way of making it so that even this 16-year-old intern can be profitable for me? Maybe I do. And then we created these trainings in our YouTube channel and a system where they immediately get in the pipeline of learning how this thing works. So go to the next one. And like I mentioned before, we have a structure, of course. Not everyone is the same. We treat everyone the same, but there's a hierarchy. There's some champions. And Julio, Nicole, and Tim became champions of the framework in different aspects. So Nicole is on the interior look and feel of buildings. Julio is on the holistic design part. And Tim became kind of like across the board. He looks at the inside, he looks at the outside, he looks at, and they review those projects before they come to my desk. And that's another thing. I wanted Julio to be a partner as well. And when I put that forward, he's like, Darwin, I can't write a contract to save my life. I can't negotiate anything. But you guys, we have a problem. And that was early on. That was like on the second year. And it is that we have 2 feet doors tall, run in Revit. We have so many really horrible things that you spend so much time marking them up. Why don't I become, and he was already really good at design, so that was already proven. The director of design, that kind of emerged after that. And I review all projects so that they are holistic, they're clear. So when you see them, you can actually focus on the fun stuff and not like whether you have an egress window or not, right? Like that's there. We know that that's there. So you can go back actually. And like I mentioned, next, you're right, yeah, right there. So like I mentioned, our contracts really look like this. Like the framework of design excellence is in there, and our design process is in here. And every person that we ever hire needs to be trained to understand what define is, what envision is, what design is, what document is. It's you as architect, you probably can relate it to like the things that we know, like pre-design, schematic design, things like that. But we created these concepts ourselves because as I worked at 10 different firms, I noticed a lot of waste. There was a lot of waste. Actually, in the United States as a country, there's a lot of waste. I saw a lot of junk mail when I first came to the country and a lot of peels on my grandma's table. I'm like, why do you have so many peels? I don't know what's going on here. But there's a lot of waste. So I said, in architecture, I cannot be repeating things over and over, and I cannot be burning through fees. If the client's generating a change, I'm going to be able to track it. And I'm going to create a process for this. And I'm going to know whether it was us or it was them or it was who created that change. Because we never knew when we were done at all of my offices. We never knew when we were done. There was not a way. So we created this process, created trainings for each one of them. And the test was the Dominican Republic consulting team. I said, well, if another person in another country can do this for, a little garage addition or a little kitchen renovation or a full home, and it's financially sustainable, and I'm, we're even breaking even, but we're not breaking even. It's more than that. Then this thesis, this theory is actually been proven right. And that team is able to deliver all of those things, and now they're learning a lot about the framework. So you can go to the next one. So in it all, it's during COVID, I was creating a lot of YouTube videos because I teach and I wanted to record them so that the students could just watch it, and I didn't want to rely on the school portals. So all those videos started getting a lot of attention, to the point where when I would be at the airport, someone would stop me and be like, oh, that construction evaluation, I passed that exam because of that video. And I would be with my son, and I'm like, I don't know who you are. Oh, yeah, no, Darwin, I know you from the YouTube channel. I was like, oh, this thing is spreading. You know, and at that point I was like, it's spreading. I got to be careful what I say. So then I went back and started like editing videos and making sure. So then we monetized the channel and created another channel. So there's two channels, one public facing, one inner facing. So the inner facing is really all the hard talks we haven't, and we recording like, hey, there was scope creep on this project. It was because of X, Y, and Z. That's only for us to watch. And I put that and I link it into our training so that they can watch it. And I say, look, I see these projects trending towards scope creep. Can you watch that video? And then they watch it. And now one thing I've learned too, no one does nothing for nothing, anything for nothing. So I'm like, I'm gonna start creating incentives so that they watch the videos. Because I'm like, no, I created all these videos and they're not watching them. So it's like, what's defeating the point? But has been a great tool, like curating it, orchestrating the videos, making it all in order. And the fact that it touches clients, it touches people that have never heard of architecture. Like my mom can put subtitles. She doesn't speak English, but she can watch it too. So it's like, it's touching a lot of lives beyond me. And it's creating a digital twin to this thing that we call flow design that we've built. So we can go to the next one. And that's that process. Define, envision, design, document. There's more steps after document, but we started with a little bathroom for an elderly couple that couldn't go up and down the stairs to do that bathroom. And I always remember that project. That was like one of my first projects. Actually, it was my first project. I got licensed that same week that I got that project. And I remember because my daughter was born the same day I got licensed. So it was pretty cool. So I will never forget that. And we say, well, let's create a process, let's test it, and let's do existing conditions, let's measure this thing as detailed as possible, create a package, share with the client, they can look at it, they approve it. We do an envision meeting where we talk about the vision, it's kind of programming, and we have a clear target, because I do not want to design without a clear target. People sometimes, I'm like, Darwin, do you have a concept or an idea for this? Like, dude, this is the first meeting. I know nothing because I do not want to jump into conclusions. If I jump into conclusions, I'm already kind of skipping steps. And plus, I don't even have a contract. So I don't want to think about design until I have a contract. So we do that process. And design, we do several design options, but there's a cap to the design options that we do. If we want to do more and the designer opts to do more design options, they got to meet with me and tell me why. And if it is an investment for the company because that design is going to be amazing, keep going, that's okay. But we don't give extra designs for free. We tell the clients to pay extra if they want more. So and document is that final kind of construction or permit set that we do or bid set that we do. They graduate. Someone that gets hired new is focused on define for quite a bit. They understand envision very well. They understand design very well, and then they work a lot on the construction documents after that. And they have a mentor within the office. But prior to that, they have to watch all my videos on how to do timesheets, how to do like everything. They literally sit down as soon as they get hired and they're watching videos. And then I schedule them to do existing conditions, because this diversity pipeline has to be sustainable and has to be profitable, and also like it has to work for everyone. So the fact that my office is no longer doesn't have any turnaround, like most people have been there for over 3 years, that's the minimum. So that tells me this thing's working, because we used to lose a lot of students and I would cry a lot. The international students, and now we're having a lot of problems with international students, sadly. Their visas are getting kind of revoked and things like that. So what we decided as a company is we will always have at least 10% transitional interns. We will have about 60% people that will be with us for forever almost, and then 30% is also explorational. Like we've been breaking it down because we couldn't have a company that was run on 21 years old. No, they could show up on Monday or not show up on Monday. So it's like, no, I can't do that. So we want diversity on the people that we have too. So we started, growing as a company and compensating people as a company. And now is when I finally am thinking about, what about branches of Flow, New Jersey. So it's like, well, that could happen. But we got so good at doing this 4-step process and so good at working very fast that we've kind of lost sight of that architectural discourse and narrative, right? And now I'm going back and saying, no, wait a minute. You think you're doing great, but let me show you what architecture really looks like, right? Like there's more to this. So we're going after awards and bigger projects and things like that, and implementing the framework as part of our work every single day, And it's bringing excitement. And again, like I said, agency, because, you know, a 22, 23-year-old, 18-year-old could actually inform the client on things like design for energy, design for well-being, you know, and that validates us as a company. That validates us as a minority office too. Because, you know, honestly, whenever I go to a new project, I'm like, I got to tell them somehow that I'm a summa cum laude and I do good, you know. Now I don't do it that much. But because you're competing with a lot of other people, the gray hair and no hairs of the world, right? So it's like, so I have to, it's hard, sorry. But it's hard. I'm competing with people that really have been around. And when I was younger, 8 years ago, I kind of look at myself and laugh. I'm like, he thought he knew everything. No, I didn't know anything. But now more and more, I'm more humble. And that's why we have our spec writers, gray hair or no hair, or peer reviewers, co-reviewers that come in and also do trainings. And we've been partnering a lot with building inspectors, believe it or not. They come to our office to do talks, to talk to us about things that they're seeing. After the HERS rating requirements were enacted in Massachusetts, they came to us to understand what's that process, what's a projector HERS, what's a mid inspection, what's a final inspection, so that people understood whenever they did a project. So we're kind of putting it all together, and this is still an experiment. It's just 8 years old. It's an 8-year-old baby. So we'll see where it goes. And we'll see where the change we seek part 2 will take us, right? Because now we're getting people that we talked to in high school 3-4 years ago that are now going to the BAC and are interning with you. And I'm like, wow, we touched you there. Did you decide to be an architect there? I said, yeah, I did. It's like, wow, let's see how far that can go. And then open the door to partnership, like 5%, 10% partnership. What we've learned, that part is really hard. The transition parts become, although I'm really young, I'm already interviewing for a potential future partner. I have one partner, it's me and Marcos, but understanding that process is not for everyone. Running a practice is really not for everyone. So we're trying to make sure that they have at least certain skills, and then we can infuse the other ones in them so that they can continue the legacy, because I don't want to do this forever. I love architecture and I love design and I love making, and it's really amazing, you know. And I love even the negotiating part. I love every aspect of it. There are days I love it more than others. But you know, the public job side, which also we just now became house doctors and we're doing a bunch of public projects. And I'm the only one that really kind of understands the whole process. And I'm like, I can't pull any of the new ones with me until I fully understand. So I'm going through the bidding process and the documents and the bid docs and understanding all that, so I can create trainings so that they can follow me and do it. But I have already pinpoint people that will work on some of them. And I'm glad that we're actually doing public work. We thought it was never going to happen for us because it was so hard. But our qualifications have been growing. And these are the champions. So they have all their superpowers. They have all the different framework elements that they have invested. And now we're partnering with the Boston Architectural College, and we're teaching the framework as a workshop. And we're practicing it there and then implementing it at our office. Education, academia, and work has to go hand by hand. So if you don't leverage it, you can't really kind of elevate the practice faster. At least not financially feasible to just, you know, I'm not a Perkins and Will that has a whole department on sustainability. So that's that. And then we can go to the next one. And then we engraved all of this into our employee handbook and our kind of like letter. Now looking at this, I just read the book, Built to Last, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, it looks like we have a cult-like, you know, like we have all the Built to Last kind of canons. If you haven't read that book, I recommend it, Built to Last and Good to Great. But it's like, it's part of our DNA. Everyone needs to read this creed and understand what our mission is, and we rewrite it together as a team. And we make sure that it works for everyone. We just enacted a work from home policy when most people are going back to work. And we're like, why? So we realize that there are things that are better suited for you to be done where you have no one else bothering you. No phone calls, nobody else. It could be writing contracts for me, cramming through those, or it could be even working on a particular aspect of a project that you just go into the flow zone. And you know, and that's why the name Flow is being on that zone where you can't really be stopped. Where I remember when I played basketball, every 3-point shoot I would shoot that day, I will make. It's like a perfect day. So in design, some of you have experimented that, I'm sure, like you're flowing. So the work from home has been tokenized. We did a poll and we said, how many tokens could we give to people? And not everyone is the same. So we did a poll and they voted. Some people said, absolutely no, I can never work from home. And some others said, I think 2 tokens per month are good. Others are 4 tokens per month. But what we do is that we're monitoring it now. Q1 was the first time that we monitor it and using Monograph to see how was productivity during that Wednesday that that person was working from home. And we've noticed that in one aspect it goes really up and in another aspect it doesn't. So we're still studying it. And we're like, we may expand it, we may reduce it, but right now we're expanding it. And seeing how it is. Again, because it has to be sustainable. It can't just be because you need to, right? Because we actually asked them, why do you think working from home is a good idea? It's like, well, I'm driving too much, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I drive too much too. It's like, so, but then they justified it with a way that was meaningful, and then we implemented it in there. Again, having the diversity of ideas in that pool of things have even made me, I hated working from home. I didn't like working from home. I'm a people's person. I need to be people. But I really realized that there's really a place for that. And I have embraced it. And I'm like, I do a lot of writing and I'm working on narrative and writing and posts and things like that. And I'm like, oh, that's when I work on my editing and I do my proofreading and I work on those things that it's my baby, but it's part of the company. Beautiful. And now I'm an advocate for certain amount of tokens of working from home. So you can go to the next one. And putting it all together, I guess as I kind of close it, now the Framework for Design Excellence has kind of empowered us because when we talk to materials reps, and you have a lot of them were here today, we talk in terms of that. How is this with water? How is this with the electricity? How is this with energy? How is this? Like now it's literally, we always just talk about that framework in every way with the owner in that way. The authorities having jurisdiction may not even care about the framework, but we can't control the whole thing, right? So, but at least, the owner is now, we have agency with the owner, agency with the materials that we specify, agency with the architecture ourselves. The framework itself could be its own agent. And then the contractor will know the why. Like, why are you doing this? This is ridiculous. This is waste. Like, no. You don't understand. Short term, you're looking at it. Long term, you got to look at it this way. So we zoom in and zoom out. And it's become much better. I must say, too, that we have a very diverse pool of contractors that get hired by our diverse pool of clients. And I thought I knew everything, but every single day I learn a new interesting thing. So that it's fun. It keeps it all fun. So next one. And then what's next? Like I said, is continuing to test that, premise of the diversity, ecosystem, inclusivity, continuing to grow that, maybe open different branches. But I never like to duplicate something that isn't great enough. So Flow Salem is the main baby, but it looks like it's something that could easily be put almost anywhere and it will work. From the hiring perspective, from the project perspective and everything. And we've been doing projects. That's why I'm licensed in so many places. Florida seems to be a good niche for us right now too, maybe the next office. But not only that, just always looking back to those results, understanding we're living a better world than what we found, that the buildings are better, that the communities are better, that the makers are representing the communities themselves, instead of being imposed from the top down and having a homogeneous built environment that can catch fire or flood, and it doesn't respond, right? So that's that. And any questions you guys can have?
Yeah, it's a great presentation. You're clearly very focused on process and using the framework, et cetera. So that's, with these emerging AI and other tools, as noble as it is to bring along that next generation, one of the challenges is how do you keep employing, presuming even a half of what is coming in the next 10 years, 5 years, coming, how do you still engage those people? It seems like your process could be handed off to an agent, what do they call it, agentic assistant for some of these roles.
I think about that before AI was taking off, because my biggest fear, my biggest fear is waking up and not remembering anything. That's like I'm like I don't know who you are, so that's why I record everything, copy and paste, say that, So I'm always very crazy about that. So I always thought what if someone else, even from our office, borrows that as an enemy, right? Like, oh, you got that process, you got that, I'm gonna do that here, and I'm gonna be your competitor. And I was like, well, but they ain't me. they're not me. They're not. In fact, our drawings, just on the upper right corner of our letter or title sheet says "made by humans." He says that. He's said that for a long time because we always got all our clients that thought that this was a fast food restaurant. So it's like, come next. I need my permit tomorrow. It's like, oh no, this is made by humans, and it takes time to make it by humans. You wouldn't want to make by a robot. You really don't. So you wouldn't want to make by anything else because it wouldn't. I always go back to that movie. I think it's called what was it, Memento? Or what was the name? It was a movie where feelings weren't allowed. I don't know if you remember that. Equilibrium, I think it was a movie. Yeah, Equilibrium, and it's like that's a world nobody really wants, right? That you couldn't hear a Beethoven song and cry or whatever. So that you're right. So what we're doing, in fact, yesterday we had a meeting about AI. We've had many meetings about AI. But it's how our team is not leveraging it enough because the human plus the AI is something completely different. AI by itself, no. AI, you can upload an entire building code and it will know it better than all of us. And that's great. That's good because I don't like building codes anyway. So, but it can't make cohesive things that respond to an environment. You can put as much training into it as you can, but every part of our body it's impossible to replicate. So that's our superpower. It's just being humans, connecting to our senses, connecting to our people, having empathy, all of that stuff. And, and plus, come on, it's so hard to pass any law. So you think that they're going to license AI as an architect? It's going to be impossible. You can't even license almost me, right? It's impossible. So that's going to be a long way to go. And we'll see how players are using it. There's always going to be bad players too. But I think that, I'm teaching them now to use it. We have some anti-AI within our office. It's like, I hate it. The director of design, in fact, it's like, I don't want anything to do with that. But now we're learning how, there's a place for everything. There's a place for everything, yeah.
One interesting thing you talked about was you talked about bringing code officials into your office to have these talks. How productive has that been into your process?
So the way I started it was by going to their meetings. I have been in many rooms, some with thousands of people. In fact, I was a keynote speaker at Aspire, and I had never been as intimidated as when I went to the building the building officials and inspectors, like commissioners meetings. They have meetings by sector, so I don't know how they do it here. And I was like, gosh, I really feel like underrepresented, like 1,000%. Like it's all dudes, it's all white. And I was like, holy shit. So I started going in there and seeing how they operate. And they're all people too, right? They're all people, right? So they're humans, they understand things. So I made friends there, a lot of friends. One of them actually there, I realized then was my materials and methods teacher at the BAC. So I was like, oh, you inspector? I didn't know you were inspector. So, and I bring them. So it's been very useful for us. The one who would accept to come to our office to talk, right? Just that answers your question right there. If it was a snobby, difficult person to deal with, they were never even there. But there are people that really, they see it as, well, one hand washes the other. Your role and my role are doing one thing and the same, protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the public, period. And it's been very, very beneficial. There have been some fun questions because, again, we have a room that's very diverse. So there's like, hey, I see some people that get building permits in one day. Is there people giving you money or like bribery and things like that? I'm like, don't talk about that. But they're kids, they don't know. It's like, don't talk about that stuff. And they say no, but probably happens. I don't know.
Question about your YouTube videos. How do you structure them and how do you make sure that your staff watches?
Good point. So I'm pushing that incentive. Remember how I said nobody does anything for nothing? So I'm pegging all of that to their growth. And when we do our annual reviews, I literally say, this is a name, don't put it in my video, but hey, right, you haven't watched any of my videos. It's like, how do you know if I haven't watched it? Like, because I monitor who watches them. Like, I see what, it's like, listen, you're growing on all these aspects, but you're not growing on this aspect. And I'm telling you, it's not because I want you to listen to me. I hate my own voice, but it's because it's value, right? So then I say, watch all my videos. I'm going to be one of the biggest promoters to you getting a raise and growing and getting bonuses. You have me. I'm one of the partners, so you have me. If you don't watch them, I'm going to look at you like, yeah, right. Yeah, so that's that. And I'm now gonna do tests and quizzes after some of those videos to keep them engaged. And I'll put some dollar amount to it, some token or maybe bagel Fridays or I don't know, something I'll give them. But that's that. And the structure of them, we record some of our meetings and we do some isolated ones. It's things I see, just so you know, like disasters too. You learn the most when things just are 2 for 5 egress spare. Like, come on, who does that? Right? Like things like that. That's what we learn the most. So we try to record it so that because whoever forgets their history, and I wanted to say that on my slides, looking at some of the buildings before and buildings now and the laws, whoever forgets their history tends to repeat it. And and if you didn't know, some of the images there were from the Nazis. And then, so this was the Nazi era. So how the brutalism was taking place there. But that's that. We try to structure that way. Yeah.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
I work for Marina Ware. We're a metal stud manufacturer, and we're all about the emerging professionals. How can our company help you? We have an architectural sales rep in New England, plus myself, but we have 15 engineers in McDonough, Georgia, size and gauge evaluation, but our team's big on education. Is that something you'd be interested in? We would be happy to support your emerging professionals. We do it all the time.
No, absolutely. So when I show the big thing and the materials reps, some of the best friends I have are from the different like enterprises. One, they're good people. Most of these people are selling products, and they care about your growth, and that's their job too. It's like, wow, my job is to help you, and then eventually my product gets spec too. But that's part. So what we do is we do lunch and learns. But they're focused lunch and learns. We're not just accepting every lunch and learn from everywhere every time. So we do it to things that we're actually working on, like metal studs. Now we're doing a 22 and a 42 unit building completely. It's not a home, so it's in the higher end. So we're learning how to understand those because they do know what a 2x6 and a 2x4 is, and they don't know. Well, no, they don't doing 2x6. They're different. 3 and 5, like they're different. So, but even little things like that, like the education, the gauges, understanding all that stuff, that's very important. And I don't know it, by the way.
We would embrace earning the specification, but it's not about that. Maybe we come in and meet with your team once, and you maybe consider us a year from now on a project. We're not about that. We're about really that technical assistance. That other part comes in time. It builds a trust.
No, I like that. So for sure, let's connect. I have business cards, so we can have you come in and teach us. We've been also partnering with lumberyards a lot recently, because I spend so much time explaining wood construction, but a lumberyard engineer can sit down and really show you also, this is what it looks like. This is what how it works. So that's very important. I rely on all of those different sources because I don't know anything. I know a couple little things and enough to know that I need the gray hairs and no hairs. But yeah. Eventually we'll have gray hair or no hair. So
If you're lucky.
yeah, I hope so. I hope I get to that. Right.
I found it interesting you talking about you're 36 and you're looking for a partner and the difficulty of finding a partner, somebody to take the reins, I mean, could you talk about that a little bit more? Like, what's the difficulty with your staff? Like, how do you get somebody to take it?
So let's say our premise was let's promote within the office, right? But let's say Jose Pleites has been with us 6 years and we are 8 years as a company. He really is into construction. He likes construction. He's on his third year of architecture, but he kind of held it back. Got his contractor's license. He's not pursuing licensure. He's not gonna pursue licensure, right? That goes right there, right? Because you need to be licensed, right? That's how the structures, at least to be 51% owner. So then, let's say, Tim, he was an international student, which we are now in sponsoring, but the sponsoring process takes its time. He does have the attitudes and character, but you have to have trust, right? You have to trust these people. You have to understand them, where they come from. There is a little bit of fear of it's handing over a baby, and it can't happen overnight. We've had people with money come in and say, listen, I want to be a partner. I have X amount of money and I want to do all of this. And I freak out. I'm like, it's I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't know if they will like you. All of these people are like my family. I don't know you. I don't, it's difficult. So I learned that you need to look for someone at least 10 years younger than you. That's kind of like a bracket so that you can pass it over. So over time. So, and then within that period of time, you be purposeful in training into contract negotiation, like damage control, getting into the heat of situations. That's where they grow. And then, if they have the attitude and the desire, then you offer them percentages, little by little, 5%, 10% partnership. And then they go. The whole thing is difficult. It's difficult even to have a conversation. Like, there's not a market, right? Like, I'm not hiring a staff member. If I'm looking for someone that's a succession plan that's gonna take over me, I want to know them, and it can't happen instantly either. So I'm learning more and more. There's different ways of doing it, different ways of evaluating the company so that you can basically have the company buy you out over time, and the other person buys it off of the company over time. And you discount something because some clients are going to go away if you go away. But the whole process is, again, building trust, talking to people, understanding where they come from. And I just never fully trust anyone anyway. Like, I always have, architects, we're control freaks. Like, you did the set, you reviewed the set, yeah, let me see again. Come on. It's like, there's always something, it's like the first thing I told you, the name of the client is wrong. It's like, come on, you didn't do it. So it's always some, so it's over time, I think it's going to get, probably it's going to get better. Unfortunately, what I've noticed too, this new generation of younger staff members, they have no clue, and I think you probably said that about me too back then. But they just think that this thing operates itself. To keep those lights on, it's like it's overhead, it's licenses, it's fees, it's renewals, it's a lot of things. So it's frightening to them. They think they're ready, and then when you put them in charge, they freak out. They don't know what to do. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to retire anytime soon anyway. But what I've just thought, yesterday I called my ex-wife. Check what I did. I called my ex-wife and I said, Caitlin, I want DJ, he's 10 years old, to shadow Marcos for 3 weeks at Flow. And it's like, why? What's we talking about? It's like, I'm hopeless with my staff members. None of them will ever own Flow. They don't care. They don't have anything, DJ's in the background. He's like, what do you mean? It's like they have nothing at stake. They feel like they don't have anything. And DJ's like, what's stake? It's like, DJ, they don't have any skin in the game. It's like, what do you mean skin in the game? Like, they don't go into the office and find a mess in the floor and clean it, thinking that this is their home. Pick it up. They don't walk in and say, well, where's that desk that mess? Like, what I mean? That pride as soon as you walk into the office, you don't have to have the skin in the game, but you have to have the attitude, And I said, but DJ will have to because I will make him. He's gonna have to do it. Whether you like it or not. I said, I want to be a baker. I'm like, okay, there goes my architect. Be the best baker at least.
Find another kid who wants to be an architect.
Yeah, we have Emily and DJ, so it's 3. So we'll see. Oh, I'll keep making them. I don't know. We need more kids. Yeah.
Great presentation.
Thank you.
I have a question about the framework for design.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of information there. How did you said you really started to get into it about a couple of years ago.
So,
How did you implement, first you had to learn it yourself and then bring it to your office?
do you remember Nate?
Yes.
Yeah, from there. So so Nate I'm a small firm exchange, the chair for 2026. So I'm part of the small firm exchange. So Nate is all about the framework. He actually was one of the first ones putting it together. And I had some one-on-ones with him. And he was gonna come talk at my office. He charges for that, which is good. I admire him that he does that. But I was like, well, you're gonna come, you're gonna talk, they're not gonna pay attention. I need to learn it. So tell me all the resources in the books and I'm gonna start learning it. And we literally did a decree at the office and brought everybody. And we're like, we all signed that we're gonna start applying this framework thing and we're gonna look into it and what it means. So I started collecting all these different things and with the school at the BAC doing more research. But also being a juror for projects has helped me a lot. Because I didn't know what, the different airport changes per minute was. Then I became a HERS modeler. So I'm a HERS modeler. I'm not a HERS rater yet, but I'm a modeler just to understand how the whole thing works. So I just started making conscious decisions towards those 10 principles. How do you measure design, for communities? Like, there are things like that. You're like, how do you measure? It's like, well, public meeting, involving the public, right? Like things like that, like because there is a way of measuring all of those different things. They sound very beautiful, but you would only think that you can measure the kilowatts per hour, right? But there's other things that you can measure, like how much rain, how much water, things like that. So looking into all of them, we're not there. I'm telling you right now. We're just touching the surface of that, right? We created a library through Google Docs where we have something called Flow Organization Day, FOD. So it happens 4 times a year, once per quarter, where we do nothing related to projects. We close our doors, everything's shut down at the office. We only work on things that improve the business. And the framework is that. We put the think tank. That day, they work on just the framework the entire day. You will be surprised with the amount of things you can do, like a design check within one day. Some people focus on updating softwares and things like that. So that group on the framework is creating that repertoire of materials, clean materials, and everyone is associated with it. And during the review, when we do annual reviews, which we do now like twice a year, we ask them, like, how was it doing the framework? How is it going? We kind of take a look at that, and we talk to, like, Tim talks to them and tells me how they're doing too. And it's been interesting. But again, you have to have a process for all that and hold them accountable. And you have to hold yourself accountable. So I told them, like, listen, I'll pay for the whole Hertz rating class. Who wants it? Nobody. I'll do it myself. And I was like, guess what? I gave myself a raise. It's like, why? It's like, I did that. It's like, you didn't tell us it was going to be a raise. So you never know. So I did. I got a bonus too.
You deserve it.
Yeah, it's been helping. My business partner is like, Darwin, has it benefited our business? And I was like, every planning board and zoning board meeting that I go to, I can talk about kilowatts hour and how to make the buildings efficient, and they pass. I've never lost any zoning case. I talk about sustainability in a way that people probably wouldn't be able to talk about. It's like, and how difficult it is to obtain, like a Hertz 40 or something like that. It's like, it's a process. But I know it was hard, by the way, very difficult. I don't know how every state does it. It's the same, actually, because it's through the ResNet. It's horrible. Doing a whole energy model online, it's really hard. Yeah.
I mean, the question I was asking about finding somebody to be a partner, and I think it touches on the difficulty of, training somebody or trying to, because it's really difficult. And I'm struggling with the idea of, like, the whole idea of DEI. You come to my office, you're like, oh my God, it's multicultural, whatever, right? But was never my goal, right? I always look for people, in the industry that are good. And like, I grew up in Korea when I was little. You go to Korea, there's no diversity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's all Korean people. Like, if you find like one white person or one black person, it's like rare, right?
Yeah.
There's no diversity there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of grew up in that culture. I come to the United States where it is really multicultural, right? And so I understand the idea, but like now I'm struggling with it because, like, what does that mean as we move forward as a society, right? And as an office, you want an office that, thinks openly, is very, open-minded about things. But, what's that mean now today as we move forward?
Yeah,
Look at skill sets, don't look at skin, don't look at color.
Yeah, so just so you know, we have a scholarship. I guess I can say it, at the Boston Architectural College. We got a call 2 weeks ago that we have to, because it was literally written and it was very, very purposeful. It was to do what the entire video did, the film did. And they were like, no, we have to take it all down, or they're going to take financial aid out. They're going to take all the loans, student loans. They're going to take all that stuff. And it's like, why are we going to fight? We're not Harvard, so we're not going to be able to fight forever. So we're changing it to mean more like accessible. But my lens is still the same. I know exactly what I'm looking for, I'm sure the office that you have, you wouldn't want it in any other way. It is your superpower, like having that different thing. So, yeah.
When you talked about diversity of your practice, which I think is important. You talked about the Billings Index, which now we're starting to hear, but you said you're confident with how your office is performing. So I've always, when I hear about small firms and what they're doing and medium-sized firms, one thing I think that they can manage when there is any kind of possibility of recession or whatever is if you have a diverse practice, you can go into this or go into that. Like if you go into healthcare and focus on that, you can maintain your practice rather than if you focus on, say, single family residential, which goes down, all of a sudden now, oh my gosh, I'm not getting the billings that I had before. That could work.
Our practice first was like almost 100% residential, like 100% single and two family, almost like that's it. And then but it's through our staff members. So Nicole Villa came on board. I didn't know she loved restaurants. And this Indian client that happens to almost control most of the industry in Boston, like by the seaport, he owns a restaurant every corner. We connected with this guy. And we're like, and we're his architect now. It's like, well, I didn't think that I was going to be doing restaurant, like high profile restaurant. So that's become a big leg of our, like, if you think of it as a three-legged tool, stool. And a lot of our billings come from that. I was having, like I said, we asked some YAF members, like, how do you feel from 0 to 10? And they felt 5. There is an entire, like, almost cloud from January to now that we're like all like evaluating. And I was starting to feel it emotionally recently, like last week, this week a little bit. Funny, right after my spring break with my kids. Maybe there's something about that. But I'm pretty confident. When I saw the numbers from Q1 for our company, I was pretty optimistic. And now looking back, but also like I sent like 15 contracts and I was scared that none of them have been signed. None of them. But in the last 2-3 weeks, some of them have been crippling through. And I was like, people are kind of like, yeah, you know what? I think things are going to be fine. So they're coming in. Today I signed one contract. I deleted the whole folder. I was like, this guy's never going to call me. This project is never going to happen. And he's like, yeah, like send me your routing number and all that stuff. And let's put you as a supplier, the product to put you in the system. And I was like, sure, we're good. That was the last thing I did before I came here. And I was like, wow, and I called my business partner and I was like, I think things are looking really good. Having business partners too is good as a thing. Like I could not do this alone. Never. I could not. If we did it alone, those numbers wouldn't look like that at all. Because Marcos has stepped up. Like I've been in the business, I was like 2 years before he came in, but we were partners since day one. He just couldn't quit. Like he wasn't ready. And now he's like, like I have plans from day one. He's just acquired new clients, but he's just skyrocketing through. Like I'm like in my mind, he doesn't know it, but I'm like, you can do this alone. I'm good. Take all my staff members, like keep him busy, because he has the big projects too, like the multifamily. Some of the affordable housing were like approved recently too, like right when. So we're fine. So that was good. But yeah, you have to have different markets. But you have to have your heart there. It can't just be because you're following like where the fish is. It's like, well, the fish moves, So we really, our core is residential because it touches the whole of life. And I think it's the best type of project to train the next generation to, right? You can work at home, die at home, entertain at home, live there, have children there. So like it touches a lot of lives so that if they want to develop themselves into any other branch of the business, they could. So that's our core. Yeah. Thank you for your assistance, by the way. It's very good. Mm-hmm.
I can tell you this is probably one of the most active Q&A periods we've ever had after a presentation. So
thank you
very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Flow Design Architects, a company that works with you for you. Thank you for watching.